Hello everyone, welcome to your Talking newspaper for Friday 31st of May 2019. I'm Howard.
And I'm Linda.
Starting with the society news for this week, Tuesday 4th of June, there'll be a coffee morning held in support of the society at the post office in Knighton. All are welcome from 10:30am until 12 noon. The swimming group is swimming at the waterside pool in Ryde. The pool is closed to the public whilst the group swims. There are male and female volunteers to help you get in and out of the pool, as well as lifeguards to ensure your safety. To join the swimming group, please call the site for Wight first to notify us of your swimming ability. You need to register with the office at Millbrook House first to be able to swim with the group.
And Wednesday, the 5th of June. The weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this week from 10:30am. There will also be our low vision drop-in between 10am and 12 noon. This is a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at the Society without the need for an appointment. We will be attending the Independent Arts Sing-About session at St Mark's Church Hall, Wootton. The session runs from 2pm until 4pm. It's free to attend and refreshments are provided. However, voluntary donations to independent arts are appreciated. Minibus transport may be available depending on location and costs £2. To register your interest, please call Laura on 522205. And Thursday, the 6th of June. There will be a coffee morning held at Costa Coffee, High Street, Cowes. Laura will be there between 10:30 and 11:45am. Refreshments are available to purchase direct from the coffee shop. The Thursday social group are meeting at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30am till 2pm. You can knit or just have a chat, then later in the afternoon, volunteers come in and read to the group from different topics.
Any other news? You can listen to Chris Kane, Marketing, Communications and Fundraising Manager on Vectis Radio for the monthly Insight for Wight slot later in the programme. RNIB invites you to come and connect. We'd like to hear your feedback and update you with what is going on in the community, so we invite you to come and connect with RNIB, other local support and most importantly each other. Different ways you can connect: meet and chat with other people from the RNIB Connect community, meet some of the RNIB South East Network team, learn about our job roles and what we do. Find out more about RNIB Connect. What is it? How can you become more connected? Take part in a Share Your Thoughts workshop. What's already working well in the area? What activities, events or groups would you like to take part in? Are there any barriers to accessing events in the South East? Dates and locations for our scheduled events on the Isle of Wight are Newport, Friday 12th of July, 10am to 1pm. Honey Hill Room, the Riverside Centre, the Quay, Newport, P0302QR. Shanklin, Friday 2nd of August, 10am to 1pm. The Falcon Cross Hall, 6 to 8 Falcon Cross Road, Shanklin, P0377LA. The schedule for the day: 10am, free time to grab some refreshments and speak with local support and others affected by sight loss. 10:45am, organised talks to update you on changes in RNIB, information about RNIB Connect and a chance to feedback. 12:15pm, more free time for refreshments, a chance to collect information, meet local representatives and speak with others affected by sight loss. If you'd like to join us at an event, please RSVP by contacting our community facilitator Hazel Cross. Email hazel.cross@rnib.org.uk or telephone 075 259 3093.
And this week's In Touch. Where have all the board games gone? Board games are enjoying a renaissance, yet fewer and fewer are available to visually impaired people to play without having to adapt them first. Why is that? There's evidence that board games can sharpen cognitive skills and help us to connect socially. So why are the numbers available to visually impaired people dropping? There have always been fewer games available, and most of us will have had to adapt a game or do something to make it work for us. Brailing your own cards, sticking bump-ons on boards and game tokens, and having clues and questions read for you by someone else. But should the onus always fall to us? 3 guests discuss the barriers to making more board games accessible. Michael Heron, accessible board game blogger, Kate Evans, marketing manager at UK Games Expo, and Dan Rugman from the Braille Chess Association. The presenter is Peter Wight, and the producer is Lee Commutat.
Items now from today's County Press for Friday 31st of May. The main headline is Murder Charge After Councillor Found Dead. A man has been charged with murder after a former councillor was found dead in Woodland in Lake. The former Isle of Wight councillor and Lake Parish councillor Jerry White was also the landlord of the Stag Inn Lake. His body was found on Monday in Woodland near Scotchell's Brook Lane, where he had been involved in a project to create a nature reserve and allotment space. Police arrested 60-year-old Jonathan Christopher Stasiuk of Pier Street, Sandown, and after 2 days of questioning charged him with murder. He appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court yesterday, that's Thursday, and was remanded back into custody until Monday, when he'll appear at Winchester Crown Court. Mr. Stasiuk appeared only to answer his name, age, address, and to confirm he understood the charge. Police believe Mr. White and Mr. Stasiuk were known to each other. Detectives are keen to hear from anyone who could assist with the investigation. D.I. Toby Elcock said, "We'd like to hear from anyone who knew Mr. White and has any information they think could be relevant to our inquiries. The area in which the body was found is quite isolated, but we believe this may be used by dog walkers and other members of the public who like to go out walking. Were you in this area between 3 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. on Monday, May 27th? Did you see anyone in this area at all? Did you hear or see anything out of the ordinary or suspicious? If you have information, then get in touch. We'd ask people who have information to not post this or speculate on social media, but to come to the police in the first instance. Anyone with information is asked to contact police on 101, quoting Operation Sage, or call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. Family, friends and colleagues have paid tribute to Mr. White. Mr. White's wife, Lee White, said, "My husband Jerry was a loving family man to me, his children, grandchildren, sister, brother, nephews and nieces. Jerry respected and trusted his loyal staff, recognising their valuable role in his life. He thoroughly enjoyed being a Rotarian, receiving an award in appreciation of his charitable work. His role as an island councillor helped many local people." Colleague Councillor Ian Ward said, "He was well known for his generous charity work with Sandown Rotary, where I know he helped secure considerable funds for local good causes. We'll miss him greatly and extend our condolences to his family and friends as they mourn his passing." David Pugh, who was leader of the Isle of Wight Council when Mr. White was a councillor, said, "Having gained the Lake North Ward for the Conservatives in 2009, he was a relentless champion for the Lake community. Jerry always made it clear that Lake was his sole priority, and he continually pushed for improvements in the area."
Still smiling, Derek sings in Shanklin after losing out on BGT spot. Singer Derek Sandy saw his Britain's Got Talent journey come to an end on Saturday night. In front of judges Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, Alicia Dixon and David Williams, he was fighting for his place in the next stage of the competition, the live semi-finals. However, he was one of the many who did not make it through. Although he hasn't made it further with Britain's Got Talent, he has future performances already in his diary, including the Great Wonderfest later in the summer. He's also performed at Shanklin Esplanade to mark the completion of an Island Roads resurfacing project. Around 150 people gathered to watch. Island Roads project manager Ian Saunders said, "This scheme wouldn't have been possible without the tremendous support received from all the local businesses, the residents and councillors Chris Quirk and Michael Beston, so I'd like to extend a big thank you on behalf of myself and the rest of the team. A final massive thank you to all involved. Have a great weekend. Introducing Mr. Derek Sandy. Singer Derek changed the lyrics of his Welcome to the IW song during one verse to say, Welcome to the Esplanade.
Cows Week title sponsor Lendy has gone into administration. The move comes after action taken by the Financial Conduct Authority, which said it was investigating the peer-to-peer lending company. A spokesman from Cows Week Limited, CWL, said CWL is understandably disappointed to learn Lendy has entered administration and will not be able to meet its contractual obligations to what would have been the final Cows Week of its 3 years title sponsorship deal. CWL has been monitoring Lendy's financial difficulties for some time and has made robust contingency plans to deal with this eventuality. While there may be some short-term financial implications, the event itself is under no threat and will remain one of the highlights of the British social and sporting calendar as it has for the last 194 years. This year's regatta will take place in August as usual, with a full programme of racing and shoreside entertainment featuring the hugely anticipated UK edition of the Global Sail GP F50 Championship and preceded by the prestigious King's Cup Regatta. Discussions regarding sponsorship for 2020 and beyond are already underway with several interested parties. In due course, CWL looks forward to welcoming a new headline partner for Cows Week and to beginning the next chapter in the evolution of this world-famous historic regatta. Damien Webb, Philip Rodney Sykes and Mark John Wilson of RSM Restructuring Advisory LLP have been appointed as administrators for Lendy.
A bridge over the River Medina could be built in the next 10 years. The Isle of Wight Council has announced plans for a feasibility study into the major infrastructure project. The bridge would effectively act as a Newport bypass for traffic heading between Ryde and the West Wight and cut congestion in Newport. The council will pay Hampshire County Council to carry out the year-long study due to start this summer. The cost has yet to be agreed. Councillor leader Dave Stewart said, Spending money on this study shows this council is ready and able to tackle major infrastructure issues on the island surrounding traffic congestion, quality of life and pollution. There's much work to do to draw up any plans, and we will need to secure funding and possibly land purchases, but this study is a start of what could be an ambitious and exciting project for the island into the next decade. Everyone is fully aware Newport is plagued by congestion, and this is potentially an excellent solution to ease traffic going through the town, but also encourage sustainable transport. We want to build this bridge as soon as possible. The Medina is, on average, 150 yards wide. It is likely the bridge would need to be much longer, wherever it was placed. The study will look in detail at the exact location of any bridge, how it can be paid for, be it through a toll or other means, the timings of the project, the potential environmental impact, and funding issues. The council said it would need to secure funding from central government and from the Solent Local Enterprise Partnership, as the bridge would be part of the South East Strategic Road Network. We will consider the potential for the bridge to also have a cycle and walking path in addition to taking vehicles, Councillor Stewart said. Many islanders recognise the need for us to address the impact of traffic congestion in Newport, as well as improve our transport infrastructure generally on the island, and this is just what we intend to do. If the outcome of the study proves the bridge is workable, the Council will look to secure funding and designs as soon as possible. The Council said the bridge was not intended to replace the Cowes Floating Bridge.
The Isle of Wight Council has a new chairman. At the May full council meeting, Councillor George Cameron was elected to succeed Councillor Laura P.C. Wilcox. Councillor Shirley Smart, who was unable to attend due to a broken leg, was elected vice chairman. councillors paid tribute to Councillor PC Wilcox and described her as one of the Chamber's hardest working and best dressed members. Other members were elected as committee chairs.
Isle of Wight GP practices are set to join forces in 2 separate mergers. Carisbrooke Medical Centre and the Dower House Surgery Newport will merge from October the 1st. In a separate merger, effective from April the 1st next year, Ventnor Medical Centre will be combined with the Grove House Surgery, Ventnor. The 4 practices are the first GP surgeries on the island to merge, although similar formal partnerships have taken place on the mainland in recent years. Health bosses said benefits would include a wider range of appointments, the ability to develop new services, and the development of specialist administration teams to respond to patient requests. The Dower House and Carisbrooke surgeries already work closely together. Last year, the practices launched a new minor illness service to help meet the demand for same-day appointments, commissioned a musculoskeleton service, and piloted a prescription ordering service. Dr. Tim Wellen from Dower House said, "We're already facing problems recruiting GPs who have left or retired, and Carisbrooke also has GPs who are nearing retirement. Altogether, our 2 practices will be much stronger to face future challenges and be better placed to further improve our services to patients." Dr. Judith Moore from Carisbrooke said, "Patients will have greater choice by choosing which medical centre they attend, although some specialist services or clinics may only be available at one of them. In Ventnor, the 2 surgeries are only 200 metres apart, and both already share the services of an advanced nurse practitioner." Dr. David Stevenson from Ventnor Medical Centre said the practices had proved they work well together and said the merger was great news for patients. Dr. Stephen Doggett from Grove House Surgery said, "This merger affords us very exciting opportunities to develop our existing relationship to improve our services to patients. It will also safeguard our services and greatly improve our resilience. It means we will continue to serve patients at the heart of our community, not just now, but in future years."
DJ and television presenter Chris Evans broadcasted his radio show live from the hut at Colwell Bay on Tuesday and hosted a performance by singer Tom Odell. The star-studded event, a dine and disco brunch, was attended by guests who'd bid for the prize at a BBC Children in Need auction. Chris told his Virgin Radio listeners he was watching the waves roll in from the ocean and said the coastal spot felt a bit special. That evening, guests were treated to a show by Michael Bublé at the Chewton Glen Hotel in the New Forest. A spokesperson for the hut said, "Thank you to everyone for coming. It was such a pleasure to do our small part in raising over £3 million for children in need."
An award-winning pub closed for the last 8 months has reopened, and the owners have promised to restore it to its former glory. The new inn at Shalfleet has been taken over by Martin Bullock, who owned it for 22 years before leasing it out 2 years ago. Martin owns the Inns of Distinction Group with fellow director Phil Galbraith. Their portfolio of island businesses includes the Fishbourne Inn, the Boathouse Seaview, the Spinnaker, Bembridge and Artisan Ride. Assistant manager Catherine Hallett will run front of house. She said, "We have refurbished the pub inside and out and given it a new lease of life. We hoped it would have been open sooner, but there were problems with the gas reinstallation, but that's all sorted now." Catherine, formerly the assistant manager at the Spinnaker, said locals were happy to see the pub reopening. "We have had a great response," she said. "The villagers are so pleased they have their local pub back, and we have had lots of custom from people staying on their boats at the creek, as well as walkers and cyclists. We're hoping to get our food back up to its previous reputation when we were consistently winning awards. It's better than pub grub, but not fine dining either. We will be serving predominantly quality seafood dishes, but also classic favourites as well. The Shalfleet pub has been added to the beer and buses route for the next event, and has a number of special events in the pipeline.
Islanders were warned about the dangers of food defences after signs were installed with a typographical error. They were placed at Simeon Wreck Ride following flood prevention works in the area. The signs were supposed to warn people not to climb on the flood defence wall. Residents were quick to spot the missing letter and comment on social media. Victoria Fellows from East Cowes said, "Bloody dangerous sandwiches out in force in Ryde." Simon Walker from Ryde said, "It stops the seagulls stealing your sandwiches, clearly." The Isle of Wight Council said the signs had been provided by the Environment Agency and would be amended. The scheme is now complete and is reducing the risk of flood to more than 300 properties, it said.
An Isle of Wight Council-run care service where a patient was left without essential medicine for 6 days has been criticised by inspectors. The person did not receive a diuretic tablet for 6 days because their supplies ran out and staff did not follow up on the lack of a prescription. Following an inspection by the Care Quality Commission, the Gouldings in Freshwater was rated requires improvement in 3 categories: effectiveness, leadership and safety, and good for caring and responsiveness. The overall rating was requires improvement. Inspectors raised serious concerns about safety and said there was an increased risk people could be harmed. When they inspected medications at the home, they found the numbers did not tally, indicating people had been given too much or not enough medicine. When inspectors tallied the amount of fluids residents had drunk, they discovered it was frequently much less than the desired amount. The Gouldings provides residential and home-based services to help people regain their independence after an illness, operation or accident. Inspectors found no shortcomings in the outreach service that supports people in their own homes. People who used the service said they were very satisfied with the quality of care and support they received. The report quoted one relative who said, "The care has been incredible." However, staff were not always given adequate training, including on infection control and food hygiene. One staff member was not able to be booked onto a food hygiene course until 6 months after they had started working in the kitchen. In the laundry room, soiled sheets were left to contaminate clean laundry, and staff were not always able to wash their hands in the sink before leaving due to inadequate facilities. Patients were also at risk of choking due to inadequate handover reports, which did not include information about their needs. The council said it had taken immediate action to improve the service. Dr. Carol Tozer, Director of Adult Social Care, said, "We're disappointed to be rated as requires improvement, but are determined to deliver improvements quickly and effectively. We took action from day one of the inspection, which included staff training, changes to how we record the administration of medicines, and how we undertake and update risk assessments. We have introduced additional senior leadership for the service and have secured the services of an independent expert to monitor our progress. Together with my colleagues who work at the Gouldings, we are passionate about providing the best service and support possible. We have already delivered a lot of extra staff training, made changes to some of our policy and procedures, including recording practice, and augmented the leadership by bringing in an expert with a track record of excellence in residential and reablement care."
Wake's retail park in Newport, home to Pets at Home and Curry's PC World, has changed hands in a deal worth £60.5 million. London property investor New River has partnered with Bravo to acquire a portfolio of 4 retail parks, 3 in Scotland and Wakes. New River said it had bought the parks from Zurich Assurance for £60.5 million. Chief Executive Alan Lockhart said, "We're delighted to be forming this joint venture with Bravo, re-establishing a successful partnership that dates back to 2012 and has a track record of delivering growing returns to our shareholders."
Sexy birthday gifts exchanged between Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, shedding new light on their passionate relationship, have gone on display at Osborne House. A new exhibition, Victoria and Albert's Birthdays at Osborne, features a white marble statue depicting a nude female figure seated on a rock and a painting of women in various states of undress. On her 30th birthday, Queen Victoria wrote in her diary, "This day was again welcomed in by the tender love and affection of my dearest Albert." In fact, the Queen's journal details year after year of birthday mornings, beginning with Albert's tender love, while a band played under their window. The exhibition opened last Friday, along with a birthday trail around the Osborne House grounds, to coincide with the bicentenary of the royal couple's births, and will run until August. Michael Hunter, English Heritage Curator at Osborne, said, "Queen Victoria may be remembered as the mourning widow in black, but these gifts show a different side to her personality. She was open to nudity, and the sensuous more open than Albert, who, perhaps surprisingly, was the more prudish of the pair." The new display and new trail at Osborne for Queen Victoria's birthday show a woman most ardently in love with her husband and with art. Last Friday, Osborne House unveiled an actual Victoria sponge to celebrate Queen Victoria's birthday, a life-size replica of Her Majesty made from cake. Standing at 4 foot 11 inches, it was created by Porberian Cakes based in Cornwall. It contained 298 eggs, 26 kilos of butter and 20 kilograms of fondant.
A man who committed burglary at the Hamborough Hotel in Ventnor, assaulted a police officer, shoplifted and resisted arrest, all while on a suspended sentence order, has been jailed. Timothy Young of Spring Gardens, Ventnor, was imprisoned for 18 months as he appeared at Isle of Wight Crown Court last Friday. In May last year, he was sentenced to 58 weeks in prison, suspended for 12 months for burglary and theft offences. Just 4 months later, he committed another burglary at the Hamborough Hotel. He denied the offence, but DNA left at the crime scene led to a conviction following a trial in the Magistrates' Court. Then, in December and January, he committed a further 3 burglaries by stealing or attempting to steal from sheds, Gary Venturi, prosecuting, told the court. In February, Young assaulted a police officer while trying to escape TK Maxx after swapping his shoes for new ones. After a chase around the aisles, Young charged into the police officer with an outstretched hand, knocking him to the ground, Mr. Venturi told the court. Young fell down too, and a member of the public helped the officer arrest him. Young also stole 2 bottles of perfume from Asda on April 1st and was identified on CCTV. On May 2nd, Young was due to appear in court for these matters but didn't show up, so a warrant was issued for his arrest. Police went to his address and found him upstairs, but he jumped over the banisters to escape and pushed one officer into a hot stove, causing her minor injuries, Mr. Venturi said. Young said his benefits had been stopped and he committed the offences due to a lack of financial resources. He said he didn't come to court because he had a panic attack. Judge Susan Evans activated 8 months of Young's suspended sentence and sentenced him to a further 10 months. Judge Evans said, "You have a long history of offending, including violence, dishonesty and drugs."
The general manager of the Isle of Wight Steam Railway has retired. Former banker Peter Vale knew nothing about railways when he took the helm in 2005, but used his experience in finance and business management to take the railway to the next level. He oversaw the opening of the 1.2 million visitor centre and bird of prey centre at the attraction. Peter said, "I liken this job to that of a football manager. We have a vast number of loyal supporters who want to see positive progress in certain areas. Decisions made will never suit all, but the priority must be what is best for the business." Steam Railway Chair Peter Conway said, "We are extremely grateful to Peter. He will be a hard act to follow, but the vacancy presents a wonderful opportunity for the right person."
The garden waste collection service run by the Isle of Wight Council has proved so popular it's reached capacity, and there is now a waiting list to sign up. More than 7,000 households have signed up to the scheme in its first year. The council said the scheme was key to making the island more sustainable by diverting garden waste from landfill, improving composting rates and contributing to national recycling targets. Head of Waste Services Natasha Dix said, "We're extremely pleased the service has proved so valuable, popular and welcome in its first year, taking the hassle out of going to the tip. We aim to extend the service to more households in the future. Anyone who's missed out this year can sign up to the waiting list at waste.contract@iow.gov.uk. The fortnightly collection scheme costs £60 a year."
Aspire scoops top prize. Community organisations from across the island gathered to celebrate the Community Action Awards. 7 categories celebrated the diverse range of organisations and the impact they have on the island and its communities. The overall winner, receiving a shield and cheque for £1,500, was Aspire Ride. Hosted by Community Action Isle of Wight, the awards evening was presented by Chief Executive Mike Bulpit. Mike said, "All the groups shortlisted tonight are clearly winners and are doing a huge amount to benefit the island." Speaking about Aspire Ride, Mike said, "Working with over 50 other groups and organisations to deliver a vast array of services, Aspire also continues to be as environmentally and financially sustainable as possible, and 125 volunteers give an estimated 45,000 hours of their time each year."
A grieving deputy harbour master who was left broken when sacked 2 days after his wife's funeral following a boat mooring dispute has won a legal claim for unfair dismissal. A Southampton Employment Tribunal judge has ruled Jeremy Butcher, 56, was unfairly dismissed by the Yarmouth Harbour Commission, but his basic and compensatory awards will be reduced by 85% as a result of his conduct. The Commission said the unfair dismissal claim was upheld due to a procedural flaw in the process. Mr. Butcher, a former Metropolitan Police detective who had been commended for his work there, was sacked in November 2017 for alleged gross misconduct, 2 days after the funeral of his wife. It followed its dispute about moorings and fees. The Commission alleged he'd moored his boat in the wrong berth. At the time of his sacking, Mr. Butcher said he was broken by the decision. He'd bought the boat so he and his wife Sarah could spend their remaining time together following her terminal cancer diagnosis. He denied breaching harbour rules and said he'd acted properly. The judge said Mr. Butcher's conduct was seriously blameworthy. He said there was an element of deliberate misuse of his position, of not seeking a change of licence or paying day rates initially, albeit I accept he probably intended to put the position right retrospectively. He said some employers might have decided not to dismiss, perhaps taking into account his clean record and tragic circumstances. Mr. Butcher said, "The reason I took it to a tribunal was to clear my name and to make sure it doesn't happen again to anyone at the harbour." Harbour Master Tim Adams said, "The tribunal provided a balanced judgment. The judge said Mr. Butcher occupied a position of responsibility and trust, which was undermined by his conduct in the matter. A remedy hearing will take place on August 1st.
The Brexit Party took by far the greatest share of the European parliamentary election vote on the Isle of Wight. With a total of 41,827 verified ballot papers, including those spoiled from the Isle of Wight, the Brexit Party took 19,392. Next was the Green Party with 6,855 votes, followed closely by the Liberal Democrats with 6,557. In fourth place was the Conservative and Unionist Party with 3,577. Then came the Labour Party with 2,481. UKIP got 1,292 votes and Change UK got 1,107. The individual candidates, the UK European Party and the Socialist Party of Great Britain, each received a handful of votes, all less than 150. The total electorate on the Isle of Wight was 109,125, meaning the turnout was 38.3%. slightly lower than the overall regional turnout, which was 39.36%. Regionally, the Brexit Party came out on top, winning 4 seats in the South East. The Liberal Democrats won 3 seats, while Conservatives, Labour and Greens won a single MP each. Among the 10 MEPs elected from the South East region are Nigel Farage for the Brexit Party and Catherine Bearder for the Liberal Democrats. Isle of Wight Green candidate Vic Slothian said, "Greens on the island have seen a steady increase in support year on year, but have never before come second in a national vote. With a general election and increased possibility, we're in the strongest position of all parties to challenge Farage and his message of blame and division." Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley said, "The message from voters on the island is clear. They want MPs to get on and deliver a meaningful Brexit. I agree." Isle of Wight Labour Party Chair Julian Critchley said, "There's no sugarcoating this particular pill. That was an atrocious result for us."
The East Cowes bicentennial celebrations were in full swing over the weekend, with a series of spectacular events taking place in the town. Entertainment included a Victorian-themed fun day, modern-day great exhibition, a horse-drawn procession and a seafront music festival, all to celebrate the 200th birthdays of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. There was even a visit from a modern-day royal, the Duke of Kent, who visited the RNLI Inshore Lifeboat Centre, the Romanoff Memorial, where he unveiled a bicentennial bench, and the Inshore Lifeboat Centre. He was welcomed by Lottie Haig Thomas, 10, who presented him with flowers from Barton Manor. A reception was attended by international guests and local councillors, including the Syed family, descendants of Abdul Karim. East Cowes councillor Carl Love, one of the organisers, said the weekend was a huge success and one which rightfully keeps East Cowes and our island on the world map. Tracy Reardon, acting chair of the East Cowes Community Partnership, said it was a fantastic community effort with lots of fun, entertainment and culture. 2 years of planning have resulted in a splash of colour which our town deserved and is long overdue.
A petition protesting the closure of the island's mental health day centres has been signed by more than 5,400 people, and a public meeting has been scheduled to discuss the plans. The petition will also be presented to the Isle of Wight Council at the full council meeting on July the 24th. The meeting will give those concerned about the closures a chance to speak with local councillors and a Unison representative. Ryde East councillor Michael Lilly will speak alongside George Brewer, a service user. Colleen Brannan, who started the petition, said all people potentially impacted by these proposals and their families and friends are encouraged to come along, as well as concerned members of the public who understand the value of the services that are likely to be closed if proposals go ahead, and the impact on the community these changes will have. Concerns have been raised by centre staff that people could take their own lives without the support provided by the centres. The meeting will take place at 7 p.m. on Thursday at Key Arts, Newport.
In September 2018, the Bay Church of England School in Sandown became an all-through school for students between the ages of 4 to 16-year-old. An extensive refurbishment of the secondary site took place during summer 2018, which included new maths classrooms. School leaders said they were delighted that all places for the Year 7 intake for September 2019 had been allocated. They said the Bay was a school that wanted students to believe in themselves, be inspired by their teachers, and excel both inside and outside of the classroom. Staff across both sites share expertise to enable students to achieve the highest academic success. Additionally, students can explore the world with confidence, building cultural links by participating in extracurricular activities such as the ski trip to Austria and cultural visits to New York and Paris. Leaders said staff were highly qualified and cared passionately about their subject and students. Richard Dunsterville, head of English, was recently awarded the Oxford University Inspirational Teacher Award.
Following a dog attack earlier this year, 2 swans have not only recovered, they are now proud parents. Freshwater Parish Council appealed for information after the swans, a familiar sight at the causeway, were attacked by a Springer Spaniel in January. The swans were looked after by Wild Bird Aid, then taken in by Chris and Lynn Sandell at Lakefield Barn. They headed home and have now welcomed 7 tiny grey cygnets into the world.
Cyclists should dismount and car drivers should abide by the restrictions on Cowes High Street. That's the message from Cowes Town Council, supported by police, as members of Speed Watch distributed flyers giving details of the prohibition of driving order in Cowes Town Centre. Flyers were handed out to members of the public, providing details of the restrictions which have been in place since October 2017. Cyclists should dismount in the pedestrian area and vehicles are only allowed between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. daily.
Plans to open a luxury beach club at Sandown have been axed due to building problems. The Isle of Wight Council said Carl Lauren, the firm behind the project, had not even discussed its plans with the authority. Carl Lauren said Origin Beach Club would feature DJs, live music, a swimming pool, hot tub, hotel accommodation, luxury food and fine wine. This week, the company announced on Facebook the plans had been cancelled due to issues with building works. The council said it had not been approached about the plans. A spokesperson said no permissions have been granted to section off a beach in that area. Sandown Beach remains very much open to the public, and there are no plans to change that.
The Osborne Horse Trials will return to Osborne House this summer. Following the success of last year's event, the horse trials will take place on Tuesday, July 23rd and Wednesday, July 24th. Run by Bede Events in association with English Heritage, the first Osborne House Trials last year drew huge crowds to the East Cowes venue. Speaking about her palatial holiday home, Queen Victoria once said, "It's impossible to imagine a prettier spot." As well as fast-paced equestrian action, Osborne House will be open as usual, with access to the main house, grounds and Royal Beach. There'll also be bars, arena attractions and dog agility shows. Children's entertainment will include a Victorian fun fair with games and rides such as chair-a-plane, swing boats and hook-a-duck.
A West Wight artist has had a piece of her work accepted for the prestigious Royal Academy Summer Exhibition. Becca Cameron of Freshwater specialises in making sea creatures out of recycled vintage and costume jewellery. Her piece, a colourful crab named Tamatoa, will feature in the exhibition at Burlington House in London. It's the world's largest open submission art show, featuring around 1,200 works. Becca, who has been showcasing her work since 2011 on the Open Studios circuit, said, "I started out by mosaicing washed-up sea buoys and transforming them into sea spheres. Driftwood was turned into fish and birds, and glass offcuts became light-catching abstracts. Tamatoa was inspired by fond memories of long summer days spent crabbing in Yarmouth. The children would lay flat on their tummies for hours, dangling their crab lines, loaded with limpets, into the sea." Becca will attend a reception at St James's Church, Piccadilly, the Buyers' Day and private viewings. Acclaimed British painter Jock McFadden will coordinate the 251st exhibition, with highlights including an animal-themed menagerie in the Central Hall, where Becca hopes Tamatoa will be displayed. After taking Tamatoa to the exhibition, she said, "As I took the bubble wrap off, Tamatoa caught the light and sparkled. Everyone went, 'Wow!' leaving me grinning like a Cheshire cat. I'm so excited and can't wait to see it hanging in the exhibition."
The Wolverton Folk and Blues Fair raised almost £7,000 for good causes and local charities. Following the event at Wolverton Manor, Shorewell, earlier this month, £4,700 was donated to leukemia research and £1,730 to Bryston Church of England Primary School. Organisers Tim and Dave Hollis said, "Thanks to all that helped make the day a great success and to all who attended."
A former Southampton youth football coach who abused boys for a quarter of a century and led football schools on the Isle of Wight in the late 1980s, has been convicted. Robert Bob Higgins, 66, was branded a predatory paedophile in court as he faced 51 counts of indecent assault relating to 24 boys between 1971 and 1996. Most of his victims were youth football players at the time of the offences. On Thursday, May the 23rd, he was convicted of 45 offences following a trial by jury. The prosecutor told Bournemouth Crown Court an investigation was launched after former Crewe Alexandra football players appeared on the Victoria Derbyshire show alleging they had been abused as children. The NSPCC subsequently set up a helpline for other victims. The telephone started ringing and one name was mentioned over and over again. That is the name of this defendant, Bob Higgins, Mr. Feast said. The case was investigated by detectives from Hampshire Constabulary's Operation Marmion team, which specialises in non-recent child sex abuse. DCI Dave Brown, Senior Investigating Officer, said Bob Higgins was a predatory paedophile. He thrived on controlling and manipulating his victims and knowing that he held the career prospects of many young men in his hands. He exploited that position in the most disgraceful way. After taking the extremely brave step of coming forward and reporting this abuse to police, they have then had to go through the stress and strain of a very public Crown Court trial as Higgins maintained his innocence throughout. In a joint statement, Higgins' victims said, "The verdicts from the jury, after hearing all of the evidence, mean Mr. Higgins' arrogance and lies have finally caught up with him. At last, after all these years, we can finally get a sense of closure and try to move on from this nightmare."
Bembridge Lifeboat Station has a new defibrillator. Funded by Cooperative Funeral Care, Lane End Beach Huts, the White Strollers and 5-Star Pest Control, the defibrillator has been installed next to the RNLI gift shop. A unit with spare pads, including servicing on an annual basis, costs in the region of £1,500. John Keyworth, Bembridge RNL Lifeboat Operations Manager, said, "In the past we've had to travel about a third of a mile to reach the nearest defibrillator." John urged people to make sure they knew where their nearest defibrillator, which can save a life when someone suffers a cardiac arrest, was located. So that concludes the first part of today's Talking newspaper, so it's goodbye, best wishes from Howard.
And it's goodbye from Linda, but just for the moment.
Bembridge Lifeboat Station has a new defibrillator. Funded by Cooperative Funeral Care, Lane End Beach Huts, the White Strollers and 5-Star Pest Control, the defibrillator has been installed next to the RNLI gift shop. A unit with spare pads, including servicing on an annual basis, costs in the region of £1,500. John Keyworth, Bembridge RNL Lifeboat Operations Manager, said, "In the past we've had to travel about a third of a mile to reach the nearest defibrillator." John urged people to make sure they knew where their nearest defibrillator, which can save a life when someone suffers a cardiac arrest, was located. So that concludes the first part of today's Talking newspaper, so it's goodbye, best wishes from Howard.
And it's goodbye from Linda, but just for the moment.
Hello, good morning, it's Paul.
And it's Linda again.
And I'm going to start with letters. This is please publish our NHS letter in full from Rachel Cook at Shorewell. Thank you for your report, County Press, the 10th of May, about the death of my brother Nathan Cook, and for including our comments about what a kind, caring person he was. Our family would like the letter sent to my mum, Pam Cook, by the Isle of Wight NHS Trust after his death, to be published in full. My mum did not cancel any of Nathan's medical appointments. She only tried to rearrange them when she could not attend with him. We had no idea he had a heart condition, or we would have made sure he got the help he needed. And there's a letter of reply here. Dear Mrs. Cook, I have tried to contact you by phone but have been unable to get through. First of all, I would like to extend my deepest condolences in respect to the passing of Nathan in February. This must have been and remains an extremely distressing time for yourself. Within the Isle of Wight NHS Trust, we have a commitment to looking at the deaths of any patients who have been in contact with our services, to see if there's anything we could have done better and or any lessons that could potentially have been learned. While reviewing Nathan's care, it became apparent that at the end of October 2017, we were informed by our colleagues in the Drug and Alcohol Service about an abnormal heart reading, which both the methadone and clomipramine, excuse my pronunciation, medication that was prescribed could have contributed to. The letter that was sent to Nathan's GP surgery was copied to us and suggested that Nathan should have a prompt appointment with a psychiatrist, as well as cardiology referral given this abnormal reading. The reason for this is that individuals who have this abnormal heart reading can be prone to sudden cardiac death. Looking through Nathan's case, it was apparent that when we received that letter, an appointment with a psychiatrist was not made, and neither was a referral to a cardiologist made, for which we apologise. I'm unable to say if this caused or contributed to his death. Based upon a review of Nathan's case, we have made an action plan of specific changes to ensure all those patients who have dual substance use and mental health needs have regular care programme approach, multidisciplinary meetings, which will include a review with a psychiatrist. I would certainly be happy to meet with you to discuss this further should you have any questions that may come out of this letter. Yours sincerely, Dr. A. Bowers, Consultant Psychiatrist.
From Dr. Dave Allen, Historian, Hampshire Cricket. I'm writing to express my thanks and congratulations to Hugh Griffiths, his wife, and everyone who contributed to a quite wonderful week of cricket at New Close, with good crowds and fine weather. Those of us who came across from the mainland had a delightful time on your lovely island, and I hope we shall be back next year. And from Alan Marriott of Carisbrooke, the return of County Championship cricket to the Isle of Wight last week was a dream of the late Brian Gardner, but it was the hard work of Hugh Griffiths, Murray Jones, Graham Cooper and many others that made it a reality. Great crowds every day, excellent organisation and superb food by Isle of Wight College students in the hospitality area were just some of the factors that made New Close a terrific venue to watch Test cricketers such as Stuart Broad, Ajinkya Rahan and Fidel Edwards plying their trade. Well done and long may it continue.
There's a letter here from Leon Gazenda, Rio Vista, California. Propaganda on 5G threat. The letter from Tanya Katerina, Rebel, touting the supposed dangers of 5G cellular radio technology is rebroadcasting disinformation spread online by the Russian government channel RT. They have been waging an all-out propaganda war to scare other countries into slowing down the deployment of 5G technology. Thousands of websites have amplified their reach. Here's a scientific fact the writer obviously doesn't understand. The higher the radio frequency, the lower its ability to penetrate human skin, significantly lowering risk to the body's internal organs and the brain. The risks to other communication systems were extensively studied before licenses were granted by the US Federal Communications Commission and similar agencies worldwide. Ms. Rebel recommends using fibre optic cable technology instead of 5G. That is pure nonsense. It won't work in your car, it won't work on your cell phone. It won't allow medical monitoring devices to alert your physician if there are warning signals of a heart or other problem while you're walking on the beach or on the downs. None of the claims the Russians are making have any ground, and in fact, their sole goal is to try to prevent other countries from gaining a competitive edge by deploying a technology the Russians are lagging behind with.
And from Angela Hewitt of Whippingham. Whoever supplied you with the photo of a lamb in the claws of a white-tailed eagle was providing you with misinformation. That is an old photo taken in Scotland and nothing to do with the Isle of Wight. It is this sort of story that loses the argument for those opposed to the introduction. I've made it clear in previous letters that I am opposed and why. Since then I have complained to Natural England and accused them of abusing the licensing system for moving a species from one place to another. Natural England wrote back and informed me they were using International Union for Conservation of Wildlife, IUCN, guidelines. The IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, founded in 1965, has evolved to become the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of biological species. It uses a set of criteria to evaluate the extinction risk of thousands of species and subspecies. The guidelines are there to protect wildlife from unnecessary human interference. They're strongly worded, comprehensive, and onerous. To be able to reintroduce a species or organism, it has to be either proven that it is a reintroduction. No text has been uncovered to substantiate this. Claims they nested on Culver Cliffs are untrue. I have read all historic documentation and nowhere does it suggest eagles ever nested on the island cliffs. Or it is of a genuine conservation value, i.e. on the verge of extinction. That argument can't be used because on the World Red List they are least at risk. Indeed, they are an overly successful species. This is why the applicant is desperately concentrating on the reintroduction criteria. However, all they have done is prove it never nested on the Isle of Wight. The habitat they were meant to have used no longer exists. It's crumbling into the sea. Natural England should be ashamed of itself. This is the same organisation that grants licences to destroy dormouse habitats so the supermarkets can be built. If real conservationists really cared, they too would object to these magnificent birds being treated like circus animals just because someone needs something to do and a few people want to gape in awe as they fly around. Natural England is a government-funded body and, like all government bodies, should be held to account. Farmers own most of the land, and they have 60 million mouths to feed, and we need to help and support them to do more than conservation, not kick them in the teeth. And from Marilyn Ford of Ryde. In her piece on child poverty, Megan Baines reveals more than a third of Ireland children are growing up in poverty. The numbers are rising. Equally shocking is the fact that 2/3 of child poverty occurs in working families. This coincides with the recent report by the UN Special Rapporteur on Poverty, Professor Philip Alston, in which he says the austerity measures introduced in 2010 by this government and the resulting cuts to social support continue unabated, despite the tragic consequences. He likens universal credit to a digitised and sanitised Victorian workhouse system. The UK has the world's 5th largest economy, yet 1/5 of its population live in desperate circumstances. Is this the country Theresa May loves so much?
We now move on to White Memories, the day Boy George dropped into Newport, by Ian Knockador, Island DJ. As part of an ongoing series of articles looking back at bygone years of nightclubbing on the Isle of Wight, DJ Ian Knockador is back, this time looking at Temptation. Temptation took up residence in a former Newport church, which is now Man in the Moon Weatherspoons. Ian said it was billed as the island's super dub, and to be frank, it hammered some mainland offerings into the ground. A bespoke interior design and a sly wave of 2 fingers to convention, Temptation definitely made its mark. Controversial but very cool. There are many stories from that DJ box, but one that sticks in my mind is when Boy George came to play. We've been trying for years to get him over here, and he was rocking Temptation. Only he wasn't, and that was the problem. Andy, the owner, called me to the front door and explained that people were leaving because he wasn't very good. He had a point. He was shocking. What works in London often doesn't work here. Another 15 minutes, and if he didn't sort his act out, we'd have to pull the plug on him. Binning jocks mid-set, if they aren't performing, has happened in lots of places. But with the connections he had, there was no way I was going to take Boy George off. The ramifications in Clumberland would be immense, and we would never get another high-profile guest. It didn't bear thinking about. Faced with a tough bit of negotiation, I explained the delicate scenario to one of his entourage. She got the picture and calmly got off her chair in the DJ box, slid over to him, whispered in his ear. To this day I have no idea what was said, but from that moment onwards he morphed into the Boy George we all know, one that could play like his life depended upon it, and he went on to blow the roof off with a stonking set. Again, great guests, great team, great venue, just what the island needed.
And now a monthly column from Isle of Wight Council leader, Councillor Dave Stewart, entitled Building for the Future. 2 years into the current administration, and having stabilised the budget and safeguarded essential services, our focus has turned to fulfilling our longer-term vision. A crucial element of this is to improve the island's infrastructure, including our roads, transport and digital connectivity. So it's good to be able to share with you some of the ambitious activities that are now emerging. These include completion of the first stages of our fibre broadband digital network across the island through the work of BT and Wight Fibre. This project will create new jobs and opportunities for islanders and makes our beautiful island even more appealing to other international companies who want to invest here. We're also bringing forward schemes designed to reduce traffic congestion and delays in and around our county town, which many have to experience on a daily basis. For example, our plans for St Mary's Roundabout will help cut bus journey times between Cowes and Newport, reduce traffic delays and create a new cycle link to the hospital from Honey Hill. This week we announced our intention to commission a feasibility study into the building of a bridge across the River Medina, which will greatly improve traffic flow between the east and west of the island and help tackle the congestion bottleneck into Newport. Add to this the pending outcome of a bid made to government for financial support to improve and upgrade Island Line from Ryde Pier right through to Shanklin. All these improvements will help provide long-term sustainable connectivity across our island and help reduce our carbon footprint. A vision without action is only a dream, but our vision is fast becoming a reality, and as it does, I will be pleased to share this emerging success with you.
Move on to some items in the What's On section. The Silver Surfers Cafe will be open between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 5th, in the Seagrove Pavilion in Seaview, where there will be people on hand to assist with computer, tablet or smartphone problems, as well as offering refreshment, all for £2 per session. The sessions will continue fortnightly until the summer break. Please contact Nigel Golding on 566357 if you need more details, or go to the website at www.Seagrove Pavilion Trust, all running into one word, or just turn up on the day. The following concerts will be held at the Rarstone Bandstand in Shanklin. Shanklin Town Brass Band at 3 p.m. on Sunday, Bob Howarth's Big Band at 7:45 on Tuesday, Sandown and Shanklin Military Band at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, Vectis Brass Band at 8 p.m. on Thursday. And in South Wight, coffee morning will be held at the Methodist Church Hall, Shanklin, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday. Lots of fun, lots of chatter and a no-pressure quiz. Toasted tea cakes, £1, bacon butties, £2. For further information, call Judith Stratton age-friendly island community navigator on 07736 151 632. Shanklin and District History Society will meet on Thursday at 7:25 at the Falcon Cross Hall in Shanklin. Sheila Cawes will give a talk, A Gentleman's View of the Isle of Wight. The photographs of Fernando di Branco from the 1920s to the 1960s. Doors open at 7 p.m. for members and for visitors, all welcome.
And at Key Arts Newport, Reviver presents Summer Love, 3 short plays, Hang Up and Days Like These, both by Anthony Minghella, and The Weatherman by Giles Cole, directed by Graham Pountney. And that's at Key Arts at 15 C Street, Newport Harbour, on Wednesday the 26th of June at 8 p.m, and Thursday the 27th of June at 8 p.m. Tickets are £14 and concessions at £13. And that's on telephone number 822490.
Some more interesting things for you. The Isle of Wight Jazz Weekend, 29th of May to the 2nd of June. Echoes of Ellington, Ian Shaw, Sax Appeal, various other groups. Tickets on sale at Isle of Wight County Press now. See our website for all details. That's IWJ in capitals AZZ capital W weekend.co.uk. And hot foot it to the Hogshead. The Hogshead in Newport High Street has gone the whole hog with a £270,000 makeover. The popular pub reopened yesterday, Thursday, May the 30th, has created 8 new jobs. David McCaughlan, General Manager of the Hogshead, said the new design looks amazing, and we hope that this, alongside the regular events and special offers, will help us continue to offer quality food and drink in a traditional yet modern pub. We can't wait to hear what everyone thinks. The revamp also includes bookable booths and a garden TV.
The Isle of Wight branch of the Royal Naval Association meets on the first Tuesday of the month at the Simeon Arms in Ryde from 7:30 p.m. Shipmates are invited to come along for a noggin and a natter. For further details, contact Dave Brown, the Honourable Secretary, on 617754.
I've got 3 more interesting items that are on. A Little Treasure comes to Northwood House. Held in the grounds of Northwood House against the backdrop of the iconic landmark, Ad-Lib Theatre will be presenting Toby's Treasure. A drama suitable for all the family, Toby's Treasure is set in 1930, complete with ghosts, stolen treasure and love. Ad-Lib Theatre have been performing drama across the island since 1996. Known for their outdoor theatre performances at heritage locations such as Appledurcombe House and Carisbrooke Castle. The talented cast from the island's acting community will bring characters to life as the audience enjoys picnicking on the lawns of Northwood. Performances take place next Thursday and Friday, June the 6th and 7th at 6:30 p.m, with a final performance next Sunday, June the 9th at 4:30. Proceeds will go to Northwood House Charitable Trust. For further information, visit all lowercase www.northwoodhouse.org. And Saturday the 10th and Sunday the 11th of August is Jack Up the Summer at North Fairlea Farm. Nick Hayward, Heaven 17, East 17, Aswad 9, 11 and various other groups. Adults, weekend tickets are £52, day tickets are £39, teen tickets are £26 and £20, and they're available over the counter at the County Press, Newport, Isle of Wight. And Shanklin Theatre has various shows on coming up. 5th of June is Stuart Francis. 22nd of June is Cregan and Co. And the 24th of June is Marty Pello, all at 7:30.
And from the West Wight, Shorewell Parish Council is holding a garden party at North Court on Sunday, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Adults £3, children 50p. Explore the 15 acres, enjoy family games and have tea. Private garden tour tomorrow, Saturday at 10:30 a.m. To book, call 740415. Proceeds to the Recreation Ground Purchase Fund. And The Magic of Great Music, presented by David Shirley, is being held at Freshwater Memorial Hall Annex on Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. This week it's great musical performers with biographies, interviews and examples of their work. That cost £3. Now, we're getting together again for the 2019 Cows Big Lunch at Northwood House Cows. On Sunday the 2nd of June 2019, an invitation to join our picnic in the park and free community celebration. Great live music from the Bob Howarth Big Band, Company B and more. Fun dog show, stalls, bar and bib barbecue, children's entertainment. Enter our baking competition. Supporting local charities on the day. Times 11:45 to 17:30. For all the information, go to www.cowsbiglunch.org and get your $5 a day at a new shop. Sandown gets a healthy new shop tomorrow, Saturday, when Root and Fruit opens in Albert Road. Owner Simon Bound has taken a change of career direction, having been a boat builder for 20 years. I'm really looking forward to it, he said. A dedicated fruit and veg shop is something Sandown is missing. And we'll be open 7 days a week with as much fresh, locally sourced produce as possible. And at East Wight, action on hearing loss will be at Tower House Surgery, Rink Road, Ryde, between 2 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on Monday for their monthly drop-in. Come along for advice, batteries, cleaning and retubing of NHS hearing aids. No appointment necessary. For more information, call 529 533. And now the Medina Theatre. Let's see, on Friday the 31st of May at 4 p.m, it's Pop Divas. Get ready for the best songs from all your favourite female stars in one fabulous fun-packed show. Little Mix will cast some black magic and Taylor Swift will shake it off as four enormously talented girls bring you up close and personal with the greatest female pop performers of today. That's on Friday the 31st of May at 4 p.m. Puppetry of the Penis. Australia's greatest theatrical export, Puppetry of the Penis, is celebrating their 20th anniversary with the hilarious Greatest Bits tour, which is sure to make audiences roll in the aisles in uncontrollable fits of laughter. This is a non-sexual show and does contain full frontal male nudity. Come celebrate the absurd and laugh like no one's watching. And that's on Saturday the 1st of June. Rhythm of the Dance. Enjoy the 20th anniversary tour of Rhythm of the Dance. This dance and music extravaganza contains a wealth of Irish talent, an exciting 2-hour trip through hundreds of years of Irish dance and music, 22 award-winning world and Irish dance champions with 25 dazzling costume changes. Worldwide, toes are tapping and hands are clapping to the feet of Rhythm of the Dance. That's Saturday the 22nd of June.
Okay, we now move on to extra useful items. 100 not out for Neil. Among the many spectators who enjoyed the match in the glorious weather at New Close was Island centurion Neil Shuttler. Mr. Shuttler, a well-known character in cricketing circles across the island who played for Newport before he became an umpire, spent a day away from his residence, the Orchard Care Home in Fairley Road, with friends and family on Tuesday last week. The father of 10, born in St James Street, Newport, and who ran his own bakery business in Node Hill, Shuttler's, said, "It's wonderful. I've really enjoyed the cricket at this lovely ground." Mr. Shuttler, 101 next month, said he watched Hampshire play at the former J.S. White's ground in Cowes.
Athletes at peak for Snowdonia. Island athletes who headed to North Wales to compete in the Snowdonia Half Marathon had to be at their peak. Amid the backdrop of wild rocky mountains, hidden valleys, cascading rivers, deep forests and glacial lakes, the tenacious Isle of Wight roadrunners trio of Lucy DeVille, Faye Tostevin and Lynn Snow took on a beast of a course, billed as the toughest half marathon in the UK. In the 9th annual event, they came up against 700 other keen runners in the gruelling championship. Faye, 2 hours 34.07, was the first of the three to finish. The first 5 miles were all uphill, proper hills too. "There's nothing like being in the mountains to inspire me to get fitter," she said afterwards. Lucy DeVille, 2 hours 45.16, and Lynn Snow, 3 hours 06.18, followed. The West Wight Roadrunners also entered 2 plucky women, Christine Armstrong and Cherry Owens. Christine came in a very creditable 2 hours 37.08 to become the first over 65 woman to finish, while Cherry was slightly quicker, 2 hours 36.45, taking the first over 70 woman accolade. A week earlier, Ride Harriers ultra runner Sasha Levrier took on the Snowdonia Ultra Trail, 17,000 feet of elevation, over 53 miles. It was a huge achievement for Sasha, who ran solidly for 24 hours. After the event, Sasha said, "It was a savage beast of a race."
Right, Aidan faced Navy elite. Sandown Bay Academy teacher Aidan Price was recently selected to play for Hampshire's senior rugby team against the Royal Navy as part of the build-up to the Tri-Services game against the Army at Twickenham. The game took place at Basingstoke RFC, with the Royal Navy dominating after an intense opening period to beat Hampshire comfortably.
And now some bit more information on the wonderful cricket that was held last week. After a glorious week which saw crowds of around 2,000 enjoy top-quality cricket for each of the 4 days' play between Hampshire and Nottinghamshire, happy fans will wonder if the first-class county game will return to the island and not wait another 57 years. It's too early to say, but the crowds were given a special treat. 3 classy centuries, great bowling displays, a myriad of drop catches and internationals in action at a beautiful ground with perfect weather each day. Hampshire cruised to victory by 244 runs to send Nottinghamshire back to the ferry by tea time on the final day of their historic clash last week. Watching pace men such as England Test legend Stuart Broad and West Indian Fidel Edwards steam in, and Hampshire spinner Liam Dawson played the first day in bat before his selection for the World Cup England squad saw him replaced on day 2, will live long in the memory. The excellent playing surface, nurtured by head groundsman Andy Butler over the past decade, was a work of art, with players heaping praise on it. Hampshire skipper Sam Northeast said, "The guys turned up not knowing what to expect from an outground, but everyone thought it was a really good experience. Sometimes you can get bad outgrounds, but for certain, more county cricket will be played at New Close." Ground staff also stood by in case of rain to use New Close's latest addition, a £50,000 blotter machine which picks up water from the pitch. New Close had received funding for it and 2 flat sheet covers which collected around 1,600 litres of water before play on the first day began.
Well, it's an article by James Wolven. Crowds flocked to villages for events. The villages of Chillerton and Gatcombe were a hive of activity for the well-loved Scarecrow Festival. Scarecrows, or gallybaggers as they are also known, filled front gardens and roadsides, and people came from all over the island to see the creations. Among the design were astronauts, Harry Potter characters, a Gulliver Travels tableau and a horse and jockey. The children and staff of Chillerton and Rookley Primary School put a spoon village on the school lawn, and the Isle of Wight Young Farmers Club put a display at the entrance to Chillerton. On Bank Holiday Monday, the pop-up Gallybagger Inn was open, with music, a raffle and the award winners announced. Winners were the astronauts built by Zoe Ride and Gareth Ryder, and their children Polly and Flora Ryder. Zoe said, "It's a real honour, this is a hard trophy to win. We came up with the idea for astronauts because it is 50 years ago this year that man first set foot on the moon." Gareth said, "Putting an entry is hard work, but this is a real community event and great to be part of. The festival raises money for local causes such as the upkeep of the village hall, equipment for the allotment group and the church at Gatcombe." Organiser Steve Hoyle thanked everyone who had given up their time to be part of the festival. Yeah, we now move on to extra bits of news. New tests introduced at Isle of Wight NHS. A new method for assessing and monitoring patients has been introduced across the Isle of Wight NHS Trust. All patients requiring treatment will now have their blood pressure, temperature, pain, consciousness, blood oxygen and urine recorded and monitored in a standardised way. Although the recording of key signs is not new, the standardisation across the health service will mean everyone uses the same system and scoring method, eliminating any confusion between specialities, services, sites and new and existing staff. The National Early Warning Score 2 was created by the Royal College of Physicians to create a standard way of assessing the severity of adult patient illness. Consultant nurse and clinical director for end-of-life care, Shane Moody, said, "News 2 is the gold standard for monitoring and scoring illness severity in adult patients. We are the first trust in the region to implement it in all our sectors, community, ambulance and hospital. It is a really powerful tool for both accurately assessing a patient's needs and spotting changes to their condition which needs escalating. Modern healthcare gets more complicated each year as new medicines and technology create new ways of treating and caring for patients. It is important with so many specialities and professionals involved in different parts of a patient's care that we have simple standard ways of sharing clinical information about patients. The creation of a core set of observations recorded and scored in a standard way means patients get the best consistent approach."
The felling of oak trees in Ryde has upset residents who say they should be protected. Island Roads has said it will not cut down a 100-year-old oak tree at Carter's Road, but a number of smaller, diseased trees, which the contractor said posed a threat to the public, have been removed. An Island Road spokesperson said, "We do have a duty to keep highway users, including those travelling in double-decker buses, safe from overhanging branches, and as part of this it has recently been necessary to trim away some young growth from the oak tree. This has been done sympathetically under expert guidance, and no further work is required to the tree at this time. But furious landowners said no effort was made to contact them ahead of the tree felling, something Island Roads has denied. Resident Francesca Cooper said, "My grandfather was not contacted, as his land is not registered. It seems inadequate that the only check they do is to look at the land registry, which is an incomplete record and also holds out-of-date information. Some trees have had branches removed, while other trees have been felled entirely." The Island Road spokesperson said, "It is the responsibility of landowners to inspect trees and ensure any adjacent to the highway do not pose a risk to the safety of highway users or prevent their right to use the highway. We only carry out work after following strict procedures both to identify landowners via formal land registry searches who may be responsible for any works required, together with specific procedures involving experts to assess any necessary works and to inspect the trees for any signs of wildlife or nesting birds using the trees as a habitat." Ms. Cooper said residents felt Island Roads had not dealt with the tree works in a professional or transparent way. She said, "In a time when we're all becoming acutely aware of the importance of our natural environment and species protection, we would like to see all trees classified as public assets, with a collective responsibility for us all to hold those to account who do not maintain to the best of their abilities this priceless resource."
MP backs campaign to protect local pubs. A campaign to protect pubs tied to large pub-owning companies has been backed by MP Bob Seeley. Mr Seeley has joined the Isle of Wight branch of CAMRA and called on the government to review the pubs code. The code regulates the relationship between pubs and the pubco companies that own them. People who run pubs claim pubcos charge unfair rates and extortionate prices for beer. Isle of Wight CAMRA chairman John Nicholson said there is an unprecedented number of pub closures on the island, and some landlords say this is because of their relationship with pubcos. Pub codes is not serving its purpose. Profits are in some cases extorted from publicans, forcing prices up for the customer, whilst the publican gets clobbered for rates on turnover. Mr Seeley said the current code is not working and something must be done. "I am working to push the government for this review in the spring, and I encourage island publicans to send me their thoughts."
Newport Parish Council and Carisbrooke Castle Museum have secured lottery funding to launch a history project, Memories of Newport, aimed at recording the memories of older islanders. They plan to record people's memories of the town to create a permanent archive. To take part, call 523-112.
Queen's Nurse Award for D. A Mountbatten nurse has been presented with the prestigious title of Queen's Nurse. Dee Curlis has become the first end-of-life community nurse specialist on the island to be presented with the title. Consultant Nurse Dee has cared for islanders approaching the end of their lives, as well as supporting their friends and families for the past 22 years. Her commitment to high standards of patient care, learning and leadership have been recognised by common nursing charity the Queen's Nursing Institute, formed in 1887. Speaking about the moment she received a letter confirming her title, Dee said, "When the news arrived in the post, I opened up the envelope. I was on my own at the time and had quite a moment. I'm very proud to be a nurse, but this wouldn't happen if this organisation hadn't enabled me in the way that it has and supported the team and me. This isn't just about me, this is about the work of the whole team giving the best patient care we can." Dr Crystal Oldman, Chief Executive of the QNI, said, "On behalf of the QNI, I would like to congratulate Dee and welcome her as a Queen's Nurse. Queen's nurses serve as leaders and role models in community nursing, delivering high-quality health care across the country." Liz Arnold, Mountbatten's Director of Nursing, said, It is with immense pride we offer our heartfelt congratulations to Dee, who has devoted her life to deliver an exceptional standard of nursing to island people. Mountbatten's nurses are entirely funded by donations. The charity thanked islanders for their support.
Patients unable to use the toilet without asking and bare, unwelcoming rooms. A Health Watch report has revealed the full extent of failings at the island's dementia unit. Work is currently underway to refurbish Shackleton Ward at St Mary's Hospital after it was branded inadequate by Care Quality Commission CQC inspectors. The ward is set to reopen in June following a 9-week, £200,000 renovation, which is hoped will create a more homely environment. A report released this week by Health Watch, the Isle of Wight's health and social care watchdog, listed a catalogue of failures at the ward prior to the refurbishment. After Health Watch inspected the ward in January, it escalated concerns to the CQC. The report stated the first lounge on the ward contained a television, which was secured to the wall in a wooden cabinet, and 6 plastic-covered chairs. No other furniture or fittings were evident in the room, and the walls were bare. An occupied bedroom that was viewed was stark, unwelcoming, and Spartan, with bare walls. It was not personalised, and no personal possessions were evident in the ward. The only furniture observed was a hospital bed and a wardrobe secured to the wall. There were no light switches in the room, only on the wall outside, making it difficult for patients to use their bedroom lights. Toilet, bathroom and bedroom doors were all locked during the day, with patients having to ask staff if they wanted to use the bathroom or enter their bedroom. Patients were unable to access food or drink independently. Staff acknowledged the environment was poor and tried to take residents outside the ward on visits to the seaside when possible. Responding to the report, the Isle of Wight NHS Trust said, "The environment was not appropriate for this type of specialist service, and we have therefore worked with staff, carers and partners, including Health Watch, to develop plans to refurbish the ward and create a dementia-friendly environment."
That's all for us today, so it's goodbye from Paul.
And from Linda.
Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, the heart of the island's community.
We got the lovely Chris Kane here from Sight for Wight.
Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm not too bad. It seems like it's been a while since I've been here.
It has been a while since you've been in, hasn't it?
Yes.
But
you sent Miriam last time.
I did, yes.
you
Sent the boss.
I was going to say you sent your lackey last time.
Yeah.
He's not going to answer that.
I'm not going to answer that.
On the account that he wants to have a job when he finishes. So, what's been going on over there then?
Well, lots going on really, but primarily this time I thought I would talk about volunteers.
Ooh.
As from next week, it's National Volunteers Week.
Okay.
From the 1st of June. So I thought I would take the opportunity to come in and have a little bit of a chat about volunteering, really.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good. So, and because like us, your organisation depends largely on volunteers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They are just a godsend, and we couldn't do what we do without them.
No.
How many do you generally have
on
average?
At the moment, we've got approximately 80 to 90 volunteers on our books. So, but we could never have enough. We need more volunteers because we have a variety of roles for people to help us out with, really. So
I suppose you have some who help you every week and some who help you once a month and some who help you as and when.
Yeah. But they're fantastic what they do, and to celebrate all the help that they provide us, we do a yearly volunteers party.
Oh, right.
So we've got that coming up in a couple of weeks, and we always theme the party.
Yeah, and the theme
is the musicals this year.
Oh,
right. Wasn't it ABBA last year or something?
It was 70s.
70s.
It was 70s.
That was it. Yeah.
Yes, and Miriam, our CEO, she was brilliant. She dressed up as this. She had this silver, glittery, flared outfit, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
I like that.
So, but this year it's the musicals.
It's the musicals. Yes. Yeah. And actually, we kind of loosely based that on, I don't know if you've heard of a lovely lady called Hannah Pereira.
Yes.
Yes.
She's been fantastic. She's come and sung for us, and in fact, she's going to be singing at the volunteers party. So we thought, actually, we'd theme it around Hannah.
Why not?
As she sings a lot of musical stuff.
Yeah.
Why not indeed?
Why not indeed?
Stuff.
Yes.
And this is basically just to say
Utilise her.
thank you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just to say thank you. Yeah, it's just a small gesture, just to let the volunteers know how much we appreciate what they do for us.
So I presume you're on the hunt for more volunteers.
Yes.
So let's assume I wanted to be a volunteer. What could I do?
Okay, we've got a variety of roles, for want of a better expression. There's home visiting. We're looking for fundraisers, sighted guides for escorting.
Yeah.
Retail assistants for our Dress for Less shop.
All right.
Yes, not forgetting that. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
admin roles,
Yeah.
helping with reception. We've got our audio library, always looking for help. Minibus drivers.
Yeah.
And of course, as it's becoming that season, we're looking for events ambassadors.
Right. So to put your case or give you a presence at events.
Yes.
All right.
So
Yeah.
because we've got a nice this year, so we're looking the part, but we want events ambassadors to have some knowledge of the charity.
Do you mean to say you can't be everywhere?
Do you know, I've not mastered that yet.
So how many events are you planning to go to this year? Or don't you know that yet?
But not so many this year, because I can tell you the events we're going to be doing this year.
Okay.
We are hoping to do the Pride event.
Yes.
But as we speak, I've not heard too much.
No, I don't know.
No.
I know
From them.
it sort of was going to happen, then wasn't going to happen, now is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know quite what the background of that is
No.
now, where
No.
it is. But yes, well, obviously everyone hopes it goes ahead.
Yes, yeah, let's hope so. And in which case, yeah, we'll be there. We're doing the Chow Show, the Island Steam Show. We're doing Fantasy Con this year.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Right.
which you may or may not have heard of.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
a sort of sci-fi.
Yep.
It's more Doctor Who themed this year.
Oh.
Dear, I
fun
wonder
enough.
who's going to go
So
to
you
that.
so
then?
you're going?
Do you know? I
then?
thought I might do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling you might.
But
Is
again,
your friend going with you?
no, he's not
The
this
Dalek?
year. Oh, the Dalek's going. Yes, yeah, he's
Yes.
coming along.
Oh, good.
Yes, getting him primed for that.
Good.
Wolverton Manor also
Yep.
we're doing.
Well, that's always a nice one, Wolverton Manor.
Yes. I know it's summer, not quite summer, but obviously the Bryston Christmas tree.
Oh, yes.
We'll be doing that one.
Yeah.
That'll be round before you know it.
I know, scary, isn't it?
Mm.
And then, of course, the short story writing competition award
Are
ceremony.
you still doing that?
Yes.
Great.
Good.
Yes, yeah.
We'd like to be involved in that
Yes,
in some
please.
way.
Yes, I'll get round to asking you in due course.
No
But,
doubt you will. Okay,
You don't
that's
need to
good
ask.
stuff. So
You
you
don't need to ask. You know we'll help.
Ah, thank you.
you need people to go to these events
We do.
and stand there and tell people what the charity does, what it is, how they can help, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
absolutely. You know, they don't have to be extremely knowledgeable about the charity, but just have an idea of what we do and what we can offer. And so, yeah, so the more the merrier, really.
Mm.
Also, bucket collections. We're looking for people to sort of stand
Collect
and.
buckets.
Yeah, so you
collect buckets.
you need plenty of buckets.
We need plenty of buckets.
No, I know what you mean. And that's so you've got a stand, you've got some kind of shelter, or you're getting something put up.
Yes.
For people to
Yeah,
stand.
yeah, we have a gazebo,
Yeah.
which are the colours of the charity. With
Of course,
Of
yes,
course,
of course,
yes.
yes.
And we're looking forward to sort of getting cracking and getting out there and letting people know who we are.
You
and
have
what
to
we
have
do.
some shelter. So I helped out at an event last year,
Oh, did you?
and it was brilliant sunshine the entire day, and I was on the gate.
Oh,
I was cooked to a frazzle,
Yes.
literally.
I can
You are.
imagine.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yes.
I get burned in 10 minutes, so you can imagine.
Yeah, no, I can. I've got sensitive skin. I understand that one.
We've still got Chris from Sight for Wight in the studio.
We do.
Talking about, now, before the break, you were talking about you need more volunteers, and it's Volunteers
Yes.
Week coming up.
Yeah, yes, it is. If anyone is interested in joining us or just finding out a bit more information, you can. In fact, we have a new volunteers manager.
Ooh.
We do, yes.
Oh, blimey. Wow.
Yeah, it's
And
exciting.
who is that?
Her name is Susan, and it's brilliant because she's going to be in every morning. So it's like it worked before with Michelle, our previous lady. She did sort of Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
So we've got more continuity. So there's somebody in every day, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
And Susan's lovely. I think you've met Susan. I think you've met Susan. I'm sure you
Probably,
have.
yeah.
Yes. So if you are interested in finding out a bit more about us, you can go to our website, which is the usual iwsb.org.uk. or you can give us a call on 52205, or you can email Susan, and the email address is volunteers at iwsb.org.uk.
Volunteers at iwsb.org.uk. Yes, excellent. Yeah. So are you are just encouraging people to contact you? Are you doing any special events for the Volunteers Week, or just making yourself known, as it were?
We're just making ourselves known. In fact, at our Dress for Less shop in Newport, opposite Moonspoons.
Yes.
We are going to do a nice window display, just basically sort of highlighting.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's Volunteers Week, and the sort of roles that we have available if anyone's interested.
Indeed.
That's a good idea.
If you're living off the island and you're coming to the island, Moonspoons is in fact a pub called the Man in the Moon in Newport, and it's run by that well-known national chain, so it's ended up being nicknamed Moonspoons.
But
it is opposite that. Yes.
So we'll be doing a nice window display on Friday afternoon in readiness for Saturday when the Volunteers Week begins.
Oh, brilliant!
So I imagine, like us, like you and us, we're all after volunteers, and and there are a set number of people out there. But there's quite a lot of people who, I'm not saying they've got nothing to do. But if you fancy doing something useful, you go and see Chris or Sue and sort that out.
Yes,
get something done. It hasn't got to be lots of time, has it?
No,
Absolutely
it hasn't,
not.
No.
It's whatever you can offer, really. It's all hours are gratefully received, and we really, really appreciate any time that you can spare.
Fancy if we go driving a minibus round? That's always good fun.
Yeah.
Nice big minibus.
Definitely looking for minibus drivers.
Yeah, they're quite good, those. They're not quite so hard to back up as you think, because you've got windows all round. But I'm not volunteering, but I can do it without the mirrors, because I've got a big van, so I can just back up with the mirrors.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good fun to be driving a minibus around. I haven't done that for many years, I have to say.
No, me neither.
iwsb.org.uk is the website, or volunteers at iwsb.org.uk. Sorry, volunteers at iwsb.org.uk, and you might want to spend a bit of time helping people and helping out a charity.
I would presume that if Susan isn't there when people ring, that somebody else will speak to them.
Yeah, either myself or Laura. Laura's our member services manager. But
right.
We're all in the same office now, so
yes,
it's all good. Better communication.
Yes.
You also get a chance to, if you are volunteer, you go and visit the amazing old building that you work in. But it's a lovely building, isn't it?
It is a lovely building. Yes. So in fact, Miriam is helping to sort out the. Also having the weeds, getting those sorted. I'm not a gardener, but Miriam and a few of the trustees have been out there trying to do a bit of weeding.
Right.
So it's all looking really nice.
So perhaps you might have somebody who wants to volunteer and do some gardening.
Yes, absolutely.
You never know. I was going to say, if you're listening, James, not very far for you to go, is it, James? To the Isle of Wight Society of the Blind. Is it, James? Do you know where James lives?
No.
Right next to the entrance to their car park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you could literally. In fact, if you put a gate in his back wall, he could probably be in your yard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, James, pop in. We'll even make you a cup of tea.
Yes, I'm sure he will do. You never know. I think he works off the island most of the week, but
I see.
I'm just pulling his leg. He'll probably ring me up in a bit and say, "Oi!" But anyway, but if you do want to volunteer time, anybody wants to volunteer time. Do you have age limits? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Doesn't matter really. Yeah, all ages welcome.
All ages welcome. Excellent stuff.
Yes.
Well, have you got anything else to tell us?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Volunteers Week next
Brilliant.
week. iwsb.org.uk. Or just ring them up. What's the number again, Chris?
52205.
52205. Well, thanks, Everly Brothers. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Vectis Radio, FM 104.6. Your station, your community.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Today we're talking about a mainstay activity of many a showery bank holiday weekend, board games. They've had a makeover in recent years. We're not talking about Ludo and Snakes and Ladders, although they have a place too. We want to find out why, given that there's about 3,500 new games coming out annually, there are only a handful accessible to visually impaired people. It might not be absolutely top of the list of things you'd like access to, but there's evidence that board games can sharpen cognitive skills and help us to connect socially. So why are the numbers available to visually impaired people dropping? There have always been fewer games available, and most of us will have had to adapt a game or do something to make it work for us, brailing our own cards, sticking bump-ons on boards and games tokens, and having clues and questions read for us by someone else. But should the onus always fall to us? The Lanes are a family of 5 and both parents, Rachel and Barry, are totally blind. The board game enthusiast among them is Rachel, and she's struggled to find adapted games that she and Barry can play with their sighted children. Well, our reporter Tom Walker dropped in on them during a game of Junior Monopoly.
Okay, go on then, you go it. Well done! Right, Ruby, where's your car? Wait a minute, Isaac. Where's the car? Yeah, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, so here's the Monopoly board. So how I made it accessible is I had some foam that I cut into long strips, and where each rectangle of the properties starts and finishes, I put a little strip of foam so it's tactile basically, so you can feel where each property starts and finishes, at the corners as well. So you've got at the start, you've got go, then in this corner here, nearest me, you've got jail, free parking, and go to jail. And then in the middle, where the chance cards sit, it's a rectangle of foam to where the cards sit. So then I bought a Braille dice, because obviously when you buy the game, it comes with an all dice that you can't feel. So I bought Braille dice, and then I recorded on a pen friend. I recorded each property so you can hear where we land. Each property has a sticker on it, and then someone told me what they were, so then I recorded on my pen friend what each property was. So like, for example,
ice cream parlour,
and then further around is museum. Obviously this is junior Monopoly, so obviously the property is different to what you get on the main Monopoly.
How inclusive are board games generally in your experience?
I mean, obviously there's a very small variety that are available for blind people to use. There's nothing sort of modern. Like, for example, Isaac loves Pokemon, and there's a Pokemon board game, and we'd love to be able to play that with him, but that's not accessible.
Do you go to organisations like the RNIB and ask them to produce these games in an accessible form?
Not personally. I know there's sort of campaigns and stuff on Facebook about that sort of thing, but I just sort of work with what there is, and then obviously try and adapt stuff as well.
Why board games?
I think it's really important to have family time, so board games is much more about spending time with a family, which other things aren't necessarily going to promote that as much.
And I guess for us as well, obviously board games involve an awful lot of talking, which can generally be rather helpful for us.
Yeah, definitely. Isaac's quite bossy and tries to take over, but with board games, we can sort of compete on a level playing field, as it were, whereas some sort of playing football and things like that with him is harder. We can do that as well, but I can play chess just as well as anyone else.
You mentioned that you don't use many mainstream games. Do you think the manufacturers should do more to make them accessible for people like you?
It would be great, definitely, to give more variety of games that you can play, especially at this level, for playing with your family. I don't know of any accessible games that, because obviously there is Monopoly, but it's the main Monopoly, but, that's not really suitable for a 5-year-old.
I don't think it would be too much effort to put some sort of tactile markings around the spaces rather than it just being a flat board. Obviously the pen friend stuff, we've had to do that yourself because Barry can't read Braille, so Braille wouldn't be helpful anyway. But it would help if, boards were tactile to start with. I don't see that would cause a lot of effort.
The Lane family talking with Tom Walker. So far, so traditional then. But what about the new games being brought out that we're not getting our hands on? The general revival of board games seems to be a response to technology fatigue and the need to reconnect in an old-fashioned way. Many of the new games available put the emphasis on players working together to win rather than just playing against each other competitively. The big question is just how much are visually impaired people missing out by not being able to play these games? Michael Heron can answer some of these questions. He's a lecturer at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, and he blogs about games and accessibility across the board, so to speak, on his site Meeple Like Us. And for those of us who don't know, and I didn't until recently, a meeple is the name of the figures or tokens that represent the player in a game. Michael is in a studio in Aberdeen. How great are these new games?
We often say there's a golden age or a renaissance of board games, and I think that's truer than it's ever been.
So is it true that there are fewer games that are accessible to visually impaired people? And if so, why?
I mean, I wouldn't even just say that there are fewer games. I think even those games that are accessible are often just accidentally accessible. Of the games I've looked at for the site, I mean, we've looked at maybe 200-ish so far. And visual accessibility is a category that tends to do really badly in these games for the wider spectrum of accessibility. But they're particularly bad for total blindness because they often have large amounts of game state information, large amounts of tokens, complex boards, complex game states. The ones that are most complicated are the ones that require you to not just think about what you're doing, but what your opponent's doing and what your opponent is going to do in reaction to what you do. And that's a lot to keep in mind. The package that you just played there had an interesting point about tactile boards and such. Whenever you buy one of these board games nowadays, you have die-cut boards where you punch out all the tokens, you have little individual tokens, you have dice, you have all these different kinds of things. You might have 5, 6, 7 different kinds of token, and they're all circles of roughly the same size. And that's difficult to track for a lot of people. I mean, there's no tactile indicators on there to tell you you're working with your points versus your money.
Stay with us, Michael, and we will be talking directly to the industry in a moment. But Ellen is mum of 12-year-old Theo. Now, Theo's been blind from birth. Ellen has seen for herself how an accessible game can open up social opportunities for Theo, as well as teaching him about strategy, spatial perception, winning and losing. Well, here's Ellen and Theo reminiscing about playing a game at a family occasion.
So all the children were gathered round the iPad. Did you know they were playing games or...?
Yes, George, my dad, told me that they were playing these games with his character and train tracks and trying to move the character to a particular spot on the game board to win on the iPad.
So he was trying to describe the sort of visual game for you, was he?
Yes, it was very hard because it changed very quickly. When they got the game out, everybody could play the same game.
And what game did we get out? Which is a kind of game, it's a bit like Pick-a-Stick, but a tactile version, isn't it?
Yes, it's like you have this board with this wooden side, basically constantly pressing on the pieces. And if the plunger or whatever the wooden thing is moves when you take the piece out, if it doesn't move, then you win that piece, and all the pieces are different point values.
Exactly, and actually some of your Swedish cousins were really good at this, weren't they?
Yes.
I remember Victor and Erik were quite good at it. And actually, did you have fun playing the game?
Yes, I had loads of fun.
Good. And they'd seen it before, hadn't they? So they all knew the game.
Yes, they had.
Yeah. And you could all just play together. In fact, that's the thing. The grown-ups didn't have to play, did they? So George and I could go off and talk to the other parents. And
I know, it was so exciting.
You could just play with your relatives, couldn't you, with the other children? Yeah. Would you recommend if somebody else was going to a family party where there might be children doing that, would you recommend they take a Disc Mikado with them?
Well, I definitely would, because it would stop people just playing on the iPad and blind children being left out, really.
Theo and mum Ellen. So does the games industry think about the visually impaired when it's coming up with new titles? Kate Evans is the marketing manager for UK Games Expo, which is the third largest exhibition of board and tabletop games. She's in our Birmingham studio. Kate, as we've heard, there are some games that will work for visually impaired people out of the box, such as games with good colour contrast or different shaped or sized meeples. But is that mostly through good luck or good management?
People think a lot about design of games. It's not just hey, I've got an idea of a game and then boom, there it is. There's an awful lot of development and playtesting that happens. I know for a fact that a lot of second edition of games, for example, Star Wars X-Wing, where you get to fly little spaceships around a board and essentially blow each other out of space, they've actually changed a lot of the colours and a lot of the sizes of the symbols on things in order to take account of red-green colour deficiency. Actual tactile versions of games are not as accessible and not as prevalent as we could have them. I would say that there's an interesting thing. So Cranium is a game where you have a party game, you have a number of different problems and things you have to solve in time. One of the rounds is a tactile one. So you have a whole set of cards, or with different images on, all of which are also printed and embossed, so there's an actual tactile element, and you have to guess what the thing is without looking at it.
But that is one round, isn't it? Things seems to be fairly random at the moment, that it's not absolutely built into design, that it's got to be accessible.
No, and I think one of the issues with that is firstly the one of scale. You are talking about thousands and thousands of games being released every year. What I think it's also a case of is that a lot of the cues for board games are visual. It's colour, it's a pattern, it's a shape of a thing, which definitely you could look at having a tactile version. I think it could be a print thing, because obviously the moment you start adding embossing or tactile stuff, the price of the game goes up.
But having to adapt a small percentage of each game wouldn't eat into their profit margins much, would it?
So I think that if you could show that there was general interest in games in this fashion, then I think it would definitely be a consideration for manufacturers.
Well, Michael Heron, do you think the games industry could be doing more?
Oh, definitely, and a lot of it doesn't even require that much in terms of cost. Like, for example, talking about the colour blindness issue, there are games released even nowadays that colour blindness is not taken into account. And for a lot of it, it's really just a case of, well, don't just use colour as the only way you provide information to the player. Provide symbols as well. And that relatively small change that doesn't necessarily cost anything on a per unit basis is something that often isn't done. And when it comes to things like tactile indicators in games and game state and such, there are a lot of relatively easy things that could be done. But as I say, a lot of it's just a case publishers don't realise these are things that actually can be done at minimal cost.
But what about the argument that it is a niche market?
Well, I mean, any market is as niche as you support it. You know, there are millions and millions of people with visual impairments in the world, and that is, you either look at that as terms of, well, that's pandering to a small group, or you look at it as there's a massive demographic there that if we make a bit of effort, we can sell games to.
So, Kate Evans, they could do more.
So I believe so. I think that's the problem with everything like this, is that there could always be more that's done. I think what we need to do is make people more aware of this. In terms of modern games, Bananagrams is about the only one that I could find that was reasonably modern. Things like Cobra Paw have both symbols and a colour on to make it accessible, and the same for Jungle Speed. But again, it's a small percentage.
Stay where you are, you two. Let me bring in Dan Rugman, who's in our London studio. Now, Dan's a trustee of the Braille Chess Association here in the UK. Chess is played on a tactile board with differently shaped pieces, and in the past, it's been relatively easy to get your hands on one. Is that still the case, Dan?
It's not as good as it used to be. I remember when I was much younger, you used to be able to get a whole variety of different chess sets from the RNIB catalogue. They do still sell one, which is a more standard set. And the Braille Chess Association actually get sets made for us because we've had lots of problems in the past with getting hold of reliable sets.
And you don't know why that is, that this is more difficult than it was in the past?
Not really, no. So the sets have to be specially made because you have raised dark squares and they put pins in the top of the black pieces, and all the squares have holes in with pegs in the bottom of the piece. So you plug the piece into the board to keep it still whilst you're feeling around the board. And the pieces are just ordinary chessmen because they all have different shapes anyway.
So it can be played with anybody, socially and in tournaments.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I play for the Hammersmith Chess Club, and I'll be off tomorrow playing against one of the other London clubs, and it'll almost certainly be a sighted person I play tomorrow.
Now, we know some specialist companies are making games and game components in accessible formats, like the American Printing House, and there's a company called 64 Ounce Games, which is producing brailled sets of cards for some games, including the popular Cards Against Humanity. But these are available. They can be quite expensive, up to $65 we'd seen. Dan, do you accept that because it is a niche market, if you want to play these games, you'll have to just pay extra?
It seems to be the way. I mean, obviously there is a higher manufacturing cost because they have to find special ways of doing it. I mean, again, going back to when I was young, there were more games available full stop. They were the more traditional games. I mean, we mentioned Ludo and things like that, but those seem to be harder to come by as well.
So how much do you feel the blindness charities could be doing more in this area?
I think they certainly could. I mean, we subsidise the sets that we sell. If you join us as a member, we'll sell, give you a chess set at a discount. And one of the particularly difficult things with chess is chess clocks, because when you play competitively, it's all timed. And those aren't normal clocks. And those have to be made especially. And those do cost a lot of money because, the new ones are digital and have to be programmed to speak. And they're definitely not industry standard.
Of course, we did invite the RNIB on to our programme, who do have some games available in their catalogue, and Dan's talked about that. They said they had nobody available. If I can ask you all, really, what do you think needs to happen to give visually impaired people more game choice? Michael, let me start with you.
Two different things that could make it easier to make this particular case. One is to show the demand, and the other one is to make it as easy as possible for publishers to include accessible design in their games that's not going to necessarily raise this issue of this per unit logistical cost that comes with some kinds of accessibility support.
Okay.
Awareness of the whole situation. People are very keen to be accessible and welcoming, but if you don't know about a thing, and I'm sure a lot of people don't in the games industry, which is daft, then we need awareness from it.
Who should be making sure that happens?
I think it would be a case of all gamers who are keen on gaming to introduce as many people as possible. I think it's all of our own responsibility. You could make it into a challenge to say, next year, we want to have a top 10 visual impairment and blind accessible games, and we can show them off a thing and say, here is how you could do this.
So run competitions, for example.
Yeah, why not? It's another game, it's a competing thing, it's here's how you do your best at this particular thing.
Dan, do you think we should actually push harder as consumers? It's all very well always to say, nobody's doing it. Is there some responsibility on us to do it?
It's always worth pushing, especially these days with social media the way it is. If lots of blind people all went on Twitter and started bombarding some of these companies and saying, why can't we play these games, that might help.
Michael Heron, Daniel Rugman, Kate Evans, thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if this discussion has whetted your appetite, the UK Games Expo is on at the NEC Arena in Birmingham from May the 31st to June the 2nd, in other words, next weekend. So the perfect opportunity to check out what's available in person and maybe do a bit of lobbying while you're there. And if you'd like some guidelines for adapting games, we'll put up a link on our website, as well as a link and a phone number to the Braille Chess Association. So how do you play your tabletop games? We'd love to know. Feel free to email us in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can call us to leave a message with your comments and suggestions. That number 0161 836 1338 1338, and our website address is bbc.co.uk/in touch. From me, Peter White, producer Lee Kumatet, our guests and the team, goodbye.
Scaffolding news for Friday 31st of May 2019. This is a list of known footway obstructions for works including scaffolding, hoarding, also details of skips, cranes and cherry pickers. We're unable to include end dates as many are extended on a week-by-week basis. The Cowes area, current scaffolds, 93 High Street Cowes, scaffold up within hoarding, Cameos, Bath Road Cowes, Ship and Castle Inn, Castle Street East Cowes, The Hut, Watchhouse Lane Cowes, pending skips at 26 Orchard Street East Cowes, and current hoardings at 93 High Street Cowes.
And the Newport area. Current scaffolding, 15 Cyprus Road, Newport, Lloyd's Bank, St Thomas Square, Newport, Gaming Centre, 9 St James Street, Newport, and current skips at 43 Victoria Road, Newport. Pending skips, 6 Southview, Newport.
The Ride area, current scaffolds, Coburg's Nightclub, Union Street Ride, Fowler's, 41 to 43 Union Street Ride, Watson Bull and Porter, 9 High Street Ride, 77 High Street Ride, 13 George Street Ride, Union Jack Hare, 11 Union Street Ride, Bendula, Union Street Ride, 35 to 36 High Street Ride, Hill Cottage, Main Road, Haven Street, and current skips at Carriter, Steen Road, Seaville, 26 Arthur Street Ride, and 3 South Street Ride.
The Sandown and Shanklin area. Current scaffolds, Wilmar, Dorkin and Vermyper Cottages, Church Street, Newchurch, the Ocean Hotel Townhouses, High Street, Sandown, the Toymaster, 103 High Street, Sandown in Albion Road, United Reformed Church, High Street, Shanklin, former Lloyds Bank, High Street, Sandown, Shanklin Theatre, Steep Hill Road, Shanklin, current Cherry Pickers at Downsview, Sandown, and current Skips at 15 Giles Lane, Sandown. Current hoardings at Premier Inn, 1-9 Esplanade, Sandown, and junction of St Boniface Road, Arthur's Hill, Shanklin. Pending mobile crane, Premier Inn, 1-9 Esplanade, Sandown.
The Ventnor area, current scaffolds, corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor, 1 Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor, 32 Pearse Street, Ventnor. Current skips, 16 South Street, Ventnor.
And the West Wight area. Current scaffolds, St James's Church, St James's Street, Yarmouth. Vehicle crossings under construction, 10 Baring Road, Cowes, 18 Arctic Road, Cowes, 41 The Rogers, Shanklin, 9 Vernon Square, Ryde, Old Church Union Road, Cowes, Down House, Allen Bay New Road, Totland, 46 Park Road, Ryde, Mayfield, Victoria Road, Freshwater, 52 Tennyson Road, Cowes, and land adjacent trees, Hillisgate Road, Cowes, and 47 Well Street, Ryde.